When the world feels like it's closing in, when your chest tightens and your mind races faster than your breath can keep up, there's one truth you need to remember. You are not powerless. It might not feel that way when the email goes unanswered, when the bills pile up, or when everyone else seems so certain, so confident, while you're barely holding it together. But beneath that storm of anxiety is something you've forgotten how to trust your own ability to act. Anxiety thrives in the shadows of uncertainty. It feeds on inaction. It multiplies when we sit still, replaying what might happen, what could go wrong, what they'll think. And yet, there's one simple, radical antidote: movement. Not just physical movement, though. Sometimes even standing up, stretching, walking can begin to shift the storm, but decisive, intentional movement toward clarity, toward choice, toward courage. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about remembering, like Dale Carnegie taught us, that we have the power to choose our next thought, our next sentence, our next action, no matter how small. Take Abraham Lincoln, for example, a man crushed under the weight of national collapse, personal grief, and relentless criticism. In the middle of a civil war, with the country unraveling at the seams, he could have frozen, he could have hidden, but he didn't. He wrote letters, he walked the halls of the White House, he sought stories, he listened, and he acted. Even in the dark, he moved forward by 1 inch at a time. And that's the secret. When you're feeling anxious, don't wait to feel brave. Don't wait for the fear to pass. Act through it. Asterisk. Write the email. Make the call. Go for that walk. Speak the truth you've been swallowing. Do the one small thing you've been avoiding. Not because you feel ready, but because you're reclaiming your ability to move. Dale Carnegie once said, if you want to conquer worry, live in day-tight compartments. That means locking the door on yesterday, refusing to borrow fear from tomorrow, and dealing only with a piece of life that is right in front of you now. Today's meeting, today's conversation, today's breath. There is great wisdom in simplicity. You don't have to fix your whole life today. You don't have to solve the future. You just have to do the next right thing. And when you do, something miraculous happens. Your mind begins to follow your motion. Your thoughts slow down. Your breath returns. Your courage rises not as a thunderclap, but as a steady flame. So pause right now. Ask yourself, what is one action I can take today that moves me out of worry and into motion? It doesn't have to be heroic. It only has to be real. Maybe it's getting out of bed on time. Maybe it's replying to a message you've been dreading. Maybe it's forgiving someone or yourself. Maybe it's choosing not to engage in that toxic thought spiral again. Whatever it is, do it like your peace depends on it, because it does. Every great leader, every confident communicator, every courageous decision maker has stood where you stand, paralyzed by doubt, overwhelmed by uncertainty, and every one of them made a choice, not to be fearless, but to be faithful to the power of one small, brave step. You don't need to have the answers yet. You just need to begin. Think about this. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers, not because you weren't capable, but because you hesitated? Not because you lacked intelligence, talent, or even resources, but because you allowed fear to vote louder than your potential. Anxiety is not your enemy. It's a signal of flare from your subconscious. It's your soul whispering, you care about this. And that's not weakness. That's evidence you're still alive, still dreaming, still reaching for something better. But the problem is, most people freeze when they feel it. They shut down. They scroll. They distract. They wait for the perfect time, the right mood, the clear sky, the magic confidence that never comes. But let me ask you something Carnegie would ask. What if the perfect time is always now? What if the clarity you're hoping for only comes after you act, not before? There's a quiet kind of bravery in showing up even when you feel like hiding, in starting the conversation even when your voice shakes, in being the one to raise your hand, to say, I'll go first, to offer an idea when silence feels safer. You don't build confidence in the moments when you already feel strong. You build it in the moments when you're terrified and you do it anyway. Carnegie understood this deeply. He taught thousands how to speak in front of crowds, not by giving them scripts, but by giving them permission. Permission to be human, to make mistakes, to try. He didn't tell them to eliminate fear. He taught them to speak through it. And by doing that, they discovered something life-changing. Fear shrinks when faced. Anxiety loses power when confronted with action. And here's something you must know. People aren't judging you as harshly as you think. They're not waiting to see you fail. They're too busy wrestling with their own worries, their own hopes, their own secret questions about whether they belong. The truth is, we're all a little anxious. We're all looking for someone to go first. Be that person. Start small. Smile first. Ask the question. Volunteer the idea. Raise the topic. Take initiative in it for applause, but for freedom. Because action is freedom. It is the key that unlocks the prison of overthinking. And the more you act, the more you'll discover that what you feared most was never as big as it seemed in your head. Let's go deeper. Think of someone you admire, someone who seems calm under pressure. Maybe it's your mentor. Maybe it's someone from history. Maybe it's someone in your own life who always seems to have it together. You know their secret? They still get anxious. They still face fear. They still doubt themselves. The only difference is they've trained themselves to move anyway. They've built habits that carry them when their emotions falter. They've rehearsed courage until it became instinct. They've learned to listen to fear, but not obey it. And that's what you're building too. Every time you do something hard while anxious, you're rewiring your brain. You're telling yourself, I can handle this. I've been here before. I won't break. And each time you get a little stronger, a little bolder, a little freer. You don't need a massive transformation to change your life. You need consistent courage in small moments. One email, one yes, one boundary, one decision to rest instead of ruminate. One choice to believe you're not defined by what you feel, but by what you do. You can feel afraid and still lead. You can feel anxious and still show up with grace. You can feel uncertain and still bring clarity to others. That is the power of presence. So, when anxiety knocks again and it will and run, open the door, acknowledge it. And then, like the leader you're becoming, say, I see you, but I choose to act anyway. Because motion, no matter how small, is the beginning of mastery. Now, here's a truth that most people miss. The fastest way to calm your own anxiety is to step into someone else's world. Let me explain. When you focus solely on yourself, your thoughts, your heartbeat, your doubts, you give anxiety a stage, a microphone, and a spotlight. But the moment you shift your attention outward, the spotlight dims, the noise softens, and something beautiful happens. You remember, you're not alone. Dale Carnegie built his entire philosophy on this principle. He taught that when we make others feel seen, valued, and heard, we unlock not only their trust, but our own inner calm. Try it. The next time anxiety whispers that you're not enough, don't respond by retreating. Respond by reaching. Compliment someone. Ask about their day and really listen. Offer help. Express gratitude. These aren't just polite habits. They are antidotes to isolation. Because anxiety loves to isolate you. It wants you to believe you're the only one struggling, that everyone else is confident and composed. But that's a lie. Everyone you meet is carrying something. Everyone has their version of the weight you feel. So instead of hiding your humanity, use it. Let it soften your eyes. Let it make you kind. That's not weakness. That's strength. You want to win in relationships? You want to be someone others respect, follow, trust? Then start where Carnegie did, with sincere interest. Not flattery, not manipulation, but real, honest, human connection. Because here's the secret. People remember how you make them feel far longer than they remember what you said. And when you become the person who makes others feel safe, understood, and appreciated, your own sense of purpose begins to rise. Your anxiety has less room to breathe when your attention is fully engaged in making someone else's day better. It could be a smile to the barista, a thank you to your coworker, a check-in text to someone who's been quiet. It could be the courage to ask, how are you really doing? These are not small things. These are world-changing acts, done one moment at a time. Carnegie told us that the deepest hunger in the human heart is to be important. Not in an arrogant way, but in a meaningful way. We want to matter, and when we help others feel like they matter, we feed our own soul as well. So when your chest tightens and your thoughts spiral, ask yourself, who can I serve right now? Sometimes that person is you. You need to serve yourself with rest, grace, and self-forgiveness. But often, it's someone just a few feet away. And here's the magic. In serving them, you lift yourself. Because action toward others breaks the paralysis within yourself. Even science confirms this. Studies show that acts of kindness reduce stress, release dopamine, and create a sense of control. But Carnegie didn't need brain scans to know this. He saw it in every class he taught, every businessman he coached, every reluctant speaker who stood up and shined the moment they realized, it's not about me, It's about the value I bring. So next time anxiety tells you to shrink, to retreat, to overanalyze pushback with presence, choose contribution, choose connection. Choose that quiet, defiant act of asking, how can I make this moment better for someone else? Because that's the essence of influence. That's where self-trust begins. That's how leaders risen not by pretending they never feel anxious, but by choosing to love anyway, to listen anyway, to lead anyway. And you can start right now. Not when you're ready, not when the nerves are gone. Now, as you are. And that single shift from self-focus to service isn't just what calms your nerves. It's what builds your legacy. Confidence isn't born from perfection. It's born from repetition, from showing up when it's hard, and from realizing that your voice matters 7 when it shakes. You see, most people think leaders are born fearless. But that's a myth. Real leadership doesn't begin when the crowd listens. It begins when no one's watching, when you choose integrity over comfort, consistency over applause. Leadership is not a title. It's not reserved for CEOs or stage speakers. Leadership is a decision, a daily one, a quiet one. And often it starts in the middle of your own anxiety. You lead the moment you decide not to let fear be the loudest voice in the room. You lead when you take responsibility for your energy, your attitude, your influence, even when no one thanks you. You lead when you look someone in the eye and say, we'll figure this out together. Carnegie believed that every person had the potential to lead because leadership, to him, was simply the ability to make someone feel capable, valuable, and courageous. Think about that. Leadership is not control. It's not dominance. It's influence. And the most powerful influence comes from empathy, from knowing how it feels to be scared and still choosing to uplift. That's what makes your anxiety a gift in disguise, It keeps you human. The greatest communicators in the world aren't the ones with booming voices or polished speeches. They're the ones who make you feel like you belong. They're the ones who don't speak at you, but to you, because they've been where you are. That's who you're becoming. Every time you speak with sincerity instead of trying to impress, every time you listen with patience instead of rushing to reply, every time you choose clarity over cleverness, courage over comfort, you are building the kind of leadership that changes people from the inside out. And make no mistake, confidence is built the same way. Not through grand gestures, not through flawless execution, but through a million small moments where you keep going. You don't wait for confidence to speak up in a meeting. You earn it by speaking up while still unsure. You don't wait to feel bold to share your idea. You share it. And in doing so, become bold. It's what Carnegie taught thousands of reluctant speakers. Speak even when afraid, and soon you won't be. And the same principle applies to every room you enter, every relationship you build, every opportunity you're tempted to walk away from. You belong not because you're perfect, but because you're present. And when you are present, when you show up with intention, humility, and belief in others, you create space for them to rise, too. That's leadership. That's confidence. That's how real influence is made. So the next time you're doubting yourself, remember this. You're not here to be flawless. You're here to be faithful to your growth, your values, your responsibility to make the space around you better. Confidence grows when you move in alignment with who you're becoming, even when that version still feels far away. And over time, that version gets closer, step by step, word by word, choice by choice, until one day, without realizing it, you walk into the room that once terrified you, and you lead it. Not because you've erased all anxiety, but because you've risen above it. There will always be a reason to wait. There will always be another fear, another uncertainty, another voice whispering, what if I'm not ready? But here's the truth that changes everything. You don't become ready by waiting. You become ready by doing. Every meaningful change in your life, the real ones, the ones you still talk about years later, began not with certainty, but with a decision, a moment of defiance against fear. A step, however small, into the unknown. And that's the final truth Carnegie would want you to remember. Action is the foundation of all success. Not analysis, not overthinking, not waiting for the right feeling. Action, asterisk. Do something, anything, and you'll feel the grip of anxiety begin to loosen. You'll feel your power returning. You'll remember that you are not here to merely survive your days, but to shape them. Set a goal. Write it down. Tell someone. Make it real. And then, Move, start. Begin, messy, uncertain, but in motion. Because your direction matters more than your speed. You don't have to fix your whole life today. You don't have to know exactly where the road leads. But you do need to choose your next step and take it. That's how momentum is born. Carnegie taught us to live in day-tight compartments, not to ignore the future, but to stop being paralyzed by it. Because anxiety will always try to drag you 10 steps ahead. But peace lives in the now, in the action you take today that makes tomorrow better. So what will you do with this moment? Will you scroll past it, tell yourself later, and stay stuck in the loop? Or will you choose something different, something braver? Will you take one imperfect step toward the life you've been waiting to feel ready for? Will you choose progress over perfection? Will you stop waiting to feel confident and start building confidence with every move you make? This is your turning point. This is the moment that someone, years from now, will ask you about, and you'll say, that's when it changed. That's when I stopped waiting for my anxiety to disappear and started moving through it. That's when I started showing up differently, for myself, for others. For the future I could finally see. It doesn't take a miracle. It doesn't require talent or luck or even a perfect plan. It just takes one thing, the courage to act, right now. So go. Send the message. Have the conversation. Apply for the job. Open the notebook. Get honest about what matters. And then move, no matter how small. Because the next chapter of your life isn't waiting on your anxiety to leave. It's waiting on you to decide that you're no longer giving fear the driver's seat. And when you do, when you begin living from motion instead of hesitation, from trust instead of panic, from purpose instead of pressure, that's when you'll look back and realize you were never stuck. You were just standing at the edge of your next beginning. So start. And if this message stirred something inside you, if you felt seen, heard, or empowered in any way, then I invite you to keep growing with us. Subscribe to Dale Carnegie Impact, where we break down timeless principles and turn them into action steps for a stronger, calmer, more influential you. If this helped you, like the video, share it with someone who's struggling, and leave a comment below. What's the one action you're going to take today? Because the world changes when people like you decide to move. Let's walk forward together.